was supposed to be a night of video games and friendship. 4 teenagers gathered in University of New Mexico dorm room on July 25th, 2024. They had controllers in their hands. They were laughing. They felt safe. But at exactly 1:30 a.m., campus police received an alarm that would shatter everything. A 14-year-old boy lay dead with a bullet to his head. Another teenager was fighting for his life. And the shooter? He had vanished into the night, leaving behind a trail of blood and a stolen gun. What happened in that dorm room will haunt you. By the end of this video, you'll discover how a casual gaming session transformed into a nightmare that terrorized an entire university campus. You'll learn about the 18-year-old suspect whose actions defied all logic and reason. And you'll uncover the disturbing evidence that led to his capture 25 miles away from the crime scene. But first, let me take you inside the mind of a killer who turned friendship into tragedy in a matter of seconds. July 25th, 2024 should have been filled with excitement at the University of New Mexico. New student orientation was underway. Freshmen were meeting their roommates, exploring campus, and dreaming about their future. The Gila dorm buzzed with nervous energy and anticipation. But something else was moving through those halls that night. Something darker was about to destroy innocent lives. At 8 p.m., 18-year-old John Fuentes arrived on campus driving his father's vehicle. He wasn't a student. He didn't belong there. Yet he walked confidently into the Gila dorm like he owned the place. Fuentes met up with 3 other people, one of them a UNM freshman just starting his college journey. They made their way to a dorm room on an upper floor. Gaming controllers were passed around. The atmosphere was relaxed, friendly. Just 4 young people enjoying a Thursday night. But witnesses would later tell police something chilling. Fuentes wasn't acting normal that evening. His eyes were different. His behavior was erratic. One victim believed Fuentes was under the influence of drugs when everything went wrong. Little did they know that within hours, their casual gaming session would become a crime scene that would grip the nation. The details of what happened next are so disturbing that even seasoned investigators struggled to make sense of them. At some point during the gaming session, John Fuentes made a decision that would change everything. Without warning, without provocation, he pulled out a Glock 9mm handgun, later discovered to be stolen, and began firing at his friends. The first shot struck 14-year-old victim directly in the head, killing him instantly. This wasn't accidental. This wasn't self-defense. This was execution. But Fuentes wasn't finished. As the other teenagers scrambled in terror, Fuentes turned the gun on a 19-year-old victim, shooting him in the head as well. Miraculously, this second victim survived, though his injuries were severe. The 2 remaining victims faced a choice: die in that dorm room, or risk everything to escape. They chose life. In a desperate act of survival, both teenagers climbed out of the dorm window and onto the exterior ledge, seeking help while their friend's killer remained inside with a loaded weapon. But what Fuentes did next reveals the true depth of his disturbed mind. Instead of fleeing immediately, he made his way to the first-story roof of the Mesa Vista building, where he began systematically smashing windows, cutting himself in the process and leaving behind a trail of DNA evidence that would ultimately seal his fate. At 1:30 a.m., University of New Mexico police received multiple alarms from the Gila dorm. Officers responding to what they initially thought was a routine disturbance call found a scene that would haunt them forever. Broken windows, blood splattered across dormitory walls, and in one room, the lifeless body of a 14-year-old boy who would never see his 15th birthday. Almost simultaneously, Albuquerque hospitals received a 19-year-old male with a gunshot wound to the head, claiming he'd been shot on the UNM campus. The pieces were falling into place, but the shooter had vanished. University officials immediately issued a shelter-in-place order. Thousands of students were trapped in their dorms while police conducted a building-by-building search for an armed and dangerous suspect. But John Fuentes was already gone. Police discovered that Fuentes had left behind critical evidence on the Mesa Vista rooftop: bloodstains from his self-inflicted wounds, the stolen Glock 9mm handgun, his car keys, and a pair of jeans. The blood trail continued across campus, telling the story of his escape route. At 1:40 a.m., just 10 minutes after police arrived, surveillance footage captured Fuentes being picked up by two individuals in a pickup truck. He had accomplices, people who helped a child killer escape justice. For the next 12 hours, John Fuentes remained at large while an entire community lived in fear. Parents frantically called their children. Students huddled in locked rooms. And somewhere in New Mexico, a killer was planning his next move. The manhunt that followed would test every resource of the New Mexico State Police. At 2:30 p.m. on Friday afternoon, nearly 13 hours after the shooting, New Mexico State Police spotted their target on Highway 314 in Los Lunas, approximately 25 miles south of Albuquerque. John Fuentes was taken into custody without incident during what appeared to be a routine traffic stop. But there was nothing routine about what police discovered. When Fuentes appeared in Bernalillo County Metropolitan Court via Zoom on Saturday morning, prosecutors revealed charges that painted a picture of premeditated violence. First-degree murder, aggravated battery, aggravated assault, and tampering with evidence. The judge's decision was swift. Fuentes would be held without bond while awaiting transfer to district court. The message was clear. This 18-year-old posed an ongoing threat to society. But here's what makes this case even more disturbing. Court documents revealed that Fuentes had driven to campus that night in his father's vehicle, suggesting this wasn't a spontaneous act of violence. He had planned to be there. He had brought a stolen weapon. He had intended to hurt people. The question that haunts investigators is simple. Why? What drives an 18-year-old to execute a 14-year-old child during what should have been a harmless gaming session? Psychological experts who have reviewed the case suggest that Fuentes exhibited signs of severe mental instability combined with substance abuse. But does that excuse the deliberate execution of a child? Does that justify the trauma inflicted on survivors and families? Today, John Fuentes sits in a New Mexico jail cell, awaiting trial for first-degree murder. If convicted, he faces life in prison without the possibility of parole. The 14-year-old victim's family has remained private during their unimaginable grief. The 19-year-old survivor continues his physical and emotional recovery, forever changed by those horrific moments in a college dorm room. This case forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth. Evil can emerge from the most ordinary circumstances. A casual invitation to play video games became a death sentence for a 14-year-old boy whose only crime was trusting the wrong person. New Mexico State Representative Mariana Anaya called this incident yet another reminder of the urgent need to address gun violence and historical trauma in our state. But the deeper question remains: how do we identify and stop individuals like John Fuentes before they act? If this case disturbed you, if it made you think about the young people in your own life, then share this video. Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell, because cases like this need to be told, studied, and remembered. Leave a comment below. Do you believe an 18-year-old who executes a 14-year-old deserves a second chance, or should some crimes carry permanent consequences? I read every single response. Until next time, stay vigilant, stay aware, and remember, the person capable of unspeakable evil might be sitting right next to you, playing the same game, sharing the same space, waiting for their moment to destroy everything you thought you knew about human nature.